let's make a start on the 2016 awards. What I want to try and do as we go through these awards is explain a little bit about what is the basis of calculation, what's the purpose, what are we trying to get at with each individual award. And we're going to start off with Right Time Arrivals Award in the passenger franchised train operating companies. We're going to do Intercity Awards, we're going to do London South East Commuter Awards, and we're going to do some regional awards as well. In each category, there'll be 2 awards. There'll be a Gold Award for the very best performance in Right Time Arrivals, that's moving annual average up to period 9 last year, and we'll be looking at a Silver Award, which is for the most improved. Now, it is theoretically possible that you could be the most improved and the overall best, but you can't win both. We don't allow that. We want to spread it around a bit, and so there'll be, first of all, we'll announce the most improved, the Silver Award, and then we'll announce the Gold. Okay, Tom's staying up with me because he's going to present these first 2. And so let's start off then in the Intercity category for the Silver Most Improved Right Time Arrivals. And the winner this year, Most Improved, with a 4.92% moving annual average improvement over the previous year, is Great Western Railway. And well done, Great Western. Now we go to the best performer for the best right time arrivals performance. With a 62% moving annual average for right time, this is East Midlands Trains. Thank you very much, East Midlands, and well done on that performance. Thank you very much, Tom. Thank you, Tom. Well, now we're going to move to the second category in the right time passenger performance, and this is the London and South East commuter category. And to help me present these awards is my friend and close colleague, Mr. David Franks. David is the Chief Executive of Irish Rail. And David has brought with him a good contingent of Irish Rail colleagues. Can we hear it for Ireland, please? There they are, there they are. The most smiling table. Now, David is going to present these 2 awards. And the first one is for the Silver category, the Most Improved Railway. And this is 6.39% moving annual improvement. And this is a new one. This is the new Crossrail MTR route, Liverpool Street to Shenfield. Would Crossrail MTR like to come forward, please? Photograph. I should just tell you that, of course, the new Crossrail MTR Managing Director is Steve Murphy, good friend and colleague, and also well-schooled on Irish Rail on Ian Rodarin. So, Steve, you're doing well, mate. Carry on with it. Good stuff. Well done to Crossrail. Now, let's go to the winner then. Let's go to the winner in the London South East category. This is an interesting one for David Franks to award, because David was at one time very much connected with this route. They achieved an 84.4% right time. They have struggled a little bit since the change of timetable, but this measurement was before the timetable. I'm sure they'll get it right in due course. It is, of course, C2C. well done, and thank you very much indeed to C2C, and thank you, David. So now we're moving on to the regional passenger awards for right time arrivals. And on the regional ones, we're calling up Steve Coatcliffe, for the MD of Vulca Rail, to help me make the presentation. Steve, come on up. Thank you, Steve. So let's hear who's done well in the regional awards. The silver for the most improved regional right time, with a 4.68% improvement on regional service arrivals right time, is again Great Western Railway. So let's go now to the winner, the Gold Award for right time arrivals in the regional sector. It is this year with a very, very good 83.9% right time, 83.9% right time, and retaining the award from last year, win it again this year, Arriva Trains Wales. Thank you very much indeed, and thank you, Steve. So now, let's go to the freight sector, and we're going to now have awards for freight punctuality. And to come and help me make these awards, could I welcome the Network Rail Acting Freight Director, Rachel Gilliland. Rachel, would you like to come up? Thank you, Rachel. So let's talk about the Freight Award. Just slightly different method of calculation. Freight have a measure called A2F, which is basically the moving annual average to trains arriving within 15 minutes. And we have two awards here, very similar to the passenger. The most improved A2F category, best of 15 minutes, and the Gold Award is for the very best one overall. So this year, the Silver Award for the most improved goes to Freightliner Heavy Haul. So, well done to Freightliner Heavy Haul. And now let's go on to the very best performance then in the year for the freight punctuality. And this year, the award again goes to last year's winner, holding on to their title, Direct Rail Services. Well, thank you very much, and well done to Direct Rail Services, and thank you, Rachel, very much. So let's move now to another way of measuring punctuality and delays and so on, and this category is about minimising delay minutes, and the category applies to all franchise passenger and freight operators. And what it is a calculation of the minutes delay on self, and you're familiar, operators, of course, well familiar with the concept of the delay on yourself. The delays you cause yourself to period 9 last year, moving annual average, but normalised for trains run. So it doesn't penalise the smaller operators versus the bigger ones, and so on. Everybody gets a fair shout at this particular category, minimising delay minutes. The Silver Award for the most improvement in delay of their own minutes, their own causation, is on the freight side, Colas Freight. Just making that presentation. I will say a great deal of effort goes in by the institutional railway operators to get the calculations right of these awards. It isn't just some rough and ready judgment, oh, well, we'll give it to them again this year. It is done properly, it is calculated, there is an audit trail if you don't like the result. But it is all good stuff. And it's done genuinely. And the one thing you can say about this is everybody has an equal chance if they perform really well. Now, here's a company that have performed really well in minimising the delay on themselves. And this is a company whose operations stretch right across the network with many, many complex interchanges and so on. So not only can they cause delay to themselves by their own actions, they can cause delay to many, many other operators. But in fact, they've turned out to be the best in this category this year. If you haven't guessed it yet already, they are, of course, Cross Country. That's a great result. Well done, Cross Country. So, now Neil, if I could ask you just to stay with us for a moment, because we're going to do some another measure now of delay minutes awards, but this is to the Network Rail routes, because we all know that in the modern industry we have punctuality depends on everybody playing together. It requires operators to all do well for themselves and by extension for others, but of course it requires the Network Rail routes to do well. And this is the next award, is a measure of the delay that's incurred on the Network Rail routes. Well, we have a very interesting result here now, because we have 2 awards to make, the silver, most improved, and we have the gold award, which is the very best. And if I tell you, first of all, that the first award is one of the first alliance routes in which a structure was put together to help Network Rail and the incumbent TOT work really, really closely together. The winner of the most improved route is Wessex. And I'd like to invite Tim Shoveler, who ran Wessex but doesn't do now. He's now taken a big promotion to Stagecoach Rail headquarters. But Tim, you are the manifestation of the Wessex Alliance. And would you like to come up to receive the Wessex Award, please? Well done to Wessex, and thank you very much, Tim, and the very best wishes to you with your new appointment at Stagecoach headquarters as well. Now the Gold Award. The Gold Award for the best Network Rail route in this context this year goes to another route, which is also now in alliance, and it is Network Rail Scotland. Do we have anybody from Scotland to receive this award? Yes, sir. taken with the winners there, Network Rail Scotland, there is a message that great performance can come out of working together. And on this measure, as I said earlier, very carefully calculated, the two alliance routes have emerged as most improved and the very best. Well done indeed to them. Now we move on to, and Neil, thank you very much indeed for helping me with those awards. Now we move on to the London Underground Awards, special category of awards, and I'm going to ask Roger Ford from Modern Railways to come up and help me with these awards. Let me just explain the London Underground Awards for a moment. This is a measure that is called the Minimising Lost Customer Hours measure, the Minimising Lost Customer Hours. It sounds quite daunting. What it actually is a measure of the impact of delays on passengers on London Underground. And so it's important to note through this measure that, for example, a 5-minute delay on a very busy route at peak times at a key hub on London Underground obviously can cause huge knock-on delays, and so incurs many, many minutes which add up to lost customer hours, because it takes into account the volume of passengers as well as the extent of delay and the knock-on effects. On the other hand, a same 5-minute delay on a much quieter perimeter of the London Underground network at an off-peak time would have far less impact. So this measure is actually calculating the extent to which the impact of delays is felt by London Underground customers. Now, in this category, we don't have quite the same classification as we did for gold and silver. In this category, the gold is given to the route on London Underground that makes the greatest improvement, and therefore it doesn't take much working out that the silver goes to the one who's made the second best improvement. So this is really all about continuous improvement in performance on London Underground. The Silver Award, first of all, for an 8.9% improvement, goes to a line which actually manages to do really, really well on the Underground in quite difficult circumstances, with some very old signalling and so on, modernisation going on in parts, all sorts of impacts. It goes to the District Line. From the District Line today, so lovely to see them all here. And well done then to the District Line, great performance, 8.9% improvement. But the winner of the London Underground Award in this category, the Gold Award, with a 25.4% improvement. That is a massive improvement. If you think back to what we explained about how this award is calculated, the impact on passenger hours, this is a 25.4% improvement in lost customer hours. It goes to the Victoria Line. Well done to the Victoria Line, and it is great to see London Underground entering into the full spirit of these railway operational awards, along with the mainline franchised TOCs and freight companies and so on. Are you all enjoying yourselves? Very good. Well, that's it. Now, it's not all over yet by any means, because there's some really, really good awards coming up now. And some people will win personally now in these next awards, because these awards are for people. Not for companies, but for people. These are for people who've excelled in some way or other. They've done something personally, individually, to take their business to a new step, to a very greatly improved level in some particular category. They nominate, the companies nominate candidates. Some of you in the room will have been nominated by your company, and then the judges from the panel, from the Institute of Railway Operators, consider who's got the best claim to each of these. So these aren't based on statistics. This is a judgment against the cases put forward for each individual. And I'd like to ask to help me make these awards the sponsors of today's event, Traxis, and Steve Brown, the Managing Director of Rail and Bus from Traxis. Steve, you're very welcome. And we have today shortlisted candidates, and then we have a winner. If you're a shortlisted candidate but you don't actually get the winning prize, there will be a certificate available for you later, because it is great credit that you have achieved the status of getting through to the final shortlist. And so please, if you don't win, don't rush away without picking up your certificate, which will be available at the reception afterwards. But let me tell you first of all then, in the first, which is the Individual Operator Award, about two shortlisted candidates we have to consider today. First of all, from the Great Western Railway, they've won two already, so they're looking here now for further wins. They have Ashley Bray from the Great Western Railway, who is nominated. Ashley is the Customer Service Training Manager for GWR, and Ashley has been nominated for the personal effort he's put in to improve training within the company, to focus the company much more intensively on good customer service through the individuals that he has the pleasure of training or arranging training for. He's developed apprenticeship schemes in customer service, and he's thought outside the organisation as well. He's gone into partnership with Flybe. Some of you may have used the airline services of Flybe in the past, a company which has had great success in refocusing its business on its customers in terms of customer service. So from the Great Western Railway, shortlisted for this award is Ashley Bray. Also shortlisted is Wyatt Gates, who is the Event Strategy Manager for SWT, South West Trains. And well done. And Wyatt has responsibilities for special events and organising and dealing with special events across the SWT network. What are special events in this context? Well, many of them are planned. Some of them can be unplanned events which occur, but most of them are planned events, big events, where the increase in passenger numbers, the change in the needs of the capacity needs to be adjusted for the appropriate event. Wyatt was nominated because not only does he do a very, very good job in preparing his railway for these events, he also is very, very hands-on on the day. Wyatt was on duty for the opening match of the Rugby World Cup. You're all familiar with what the Rugby World Cup there. Less said about the results, better, but nevertheless, the Rugby World Cup was a really, really important sporting event, of course, and very much affected the services of South West Trains. Wyatt set it all up, but he was also there when an absolute tragedy happened late one evening after the first game, when a passenger fell from the platform in front of a train. And you can just imagine, on a special event day, the kind of chaos that could arrange. Wyatt not only took charge on site of the incident, but also set up following that for the rest of that weekend, an investigation and how they could avoid, because this was by no means over, this event, there was going to be a lot more matches, how they could avoid such a tragedy happening again. A real sterling personal effort that was put in. So of the two shortlisted candidates, the IRO panel considered carefully and eventually decided that the Outstanding Individual Operator Award this year should go from South West Trains, Wyatt Gates. Okay, now we're coming on to another individual award. We heard earlier that we had a special award category for London Underground, and we're very encouraged that London Underground participate in these awards events with all the mainline operators. And we're also delighted that Ian Rodair and Irish Rail really participate. During my time, over 10 years from 2003 to 2013 with Ian Rodair, I was very keen to encourage IRO membership and participation in the events and the examinations and all the rest of it with the IRO. And I'm delighted that many Ian Rodair and Irish Rail colleagues are now very much involved with the IRO, exemplified by the table of colleagues that they have here. But the IRO thought it would be appropriate now to have a new award that was for an outstanding individual achievement in Ireland. And this particular award today goes to a colleague who I know well, and the Irish colleagues will be delighted to support him in this award. It goes to a colleague who has worked really hard to help build the business in Irish Rail, from an operating perspective and from a commercial business management perspective for a long time. Ireland suffered, as we all know, quite a tough recession just a few years ago, but by its own efforts, it has pulled itself out. And Ian Rodair, and by its efforts, is pulling the railway back to great fortunes. And one individual has worked very hard in his particular area of responsibility to do that. It is the Business Development Manager for Ian Rodair in Houston, Tony Cassidy. Well, thank you very much indeed. Those were individual awards, but we're now going to move on to some team awards. Outstanding teams, as we all know, help make the railway what it is. The railway requires teams work. We can't do everything as individuals. We can make a huge contribution individually, but we can't achieve without great teamwork. And we're going to hear now about some teams that have been nominated for the great efforts they have made. First of all, we're going to hear about a team from Freightliner Heavy Haul. They're called the Domestic Intermodal Project Team. And they have been nominated for achieving something which is very difficult for anybody to achieve in the railways nowadays, and that's to find a path on the West Coast Main Line. Paths on the West Coast Main Line are very hard to come by. But the Domestic Intermodal Project Team were challenged by their chiefs, and they were given 6 days to find paths to run a new train daily from Coatbridge in Scotland to Daventry in the Midlands. And this was going to be tough. But they didn't just kick tires and say, what can you do? They set about it with real detailed attention, and they managed to find a path. Then not only that, they managed to find paths that would enable them to do a 24-hour round trip. And not only that, in implementing it, they have managed to achieve very high performance under the freight measure of in the high 90%. So a great result, all done with 6 days to achieve it. Good, traditional, diligent, attention to detail railway work, and I think that's very commendable. Freightliner Heavy Haul Domestic Intermodal Project Team. Well, if finding paths on the West Coast Main Line is difficult, so is this next category of task, which is managing possessions and projects and the impact on customers at stations while you're doing them. And we all know, those of us who've had many years in the railways, that when you get it wrong in possessions and projects, the flack flies very substantially, internally and externally, all over the place. So we need to try hard each time new possessions, new projects are starting out. Great Western Railway have, indeed, a major possessions, projects and stations team who are put together deliberately to deal with this kind of thing. Recently, they had to deliver a revised service plan for the 6-week closure on the Great Western Main Line of Box Tunnel. So many of you know where Box Tunnel is down there on the Great Western Main Line, and this was all for the electrification, the work done last summer. It's the longest closure that Box has ever been closed for, in fact, any part of the Great Western Main Line in that sense, for 40 years. So this was going to have a big impact. They planned it very, very carefully. They went to great detail. And if I tell you that the detail they went to was so close that they ended up getting road traffic light timings changed to facilitate bus replacement, rail replacement buses. They managed to get the local authority to change the timing of traffic lights to give a better flow for rail replacement buses. That's attention to detail in anybody's book, I'm sure. They worked really hard as well with Network Rail to make sure there was proper communication so they could all the time keep customers advised. Do you know, when I was a young trainee back in the early 70s, I remember a man, some of you might even know him, the older ones in the room, called Bill Robinson. He was on the East Coast Main Line latterly, but in my time he was at Derby as a local manager at Derby. And I was a young trainee there in the early 70s. And he said to me once, there's a bit of swearing in this, but I'm sure you won't mind. The Irish guys will feel at home with it anyway. He said to me, Dick, he said, there's no limit to the amount to which you can bugger the passengers about, providing you tell them exactly how you are going to bugger them about. And there is some truth in that. That if you tell people they are going to be, affected, they are going to be affected by the work, providing you tell them what's going to happen and your information is accurate, you can get away with it. In fact, sometimes they'll even compliment you. And in this case, the Great Western Railway customers affected by this actually wrote in many cases, compliments and praise for the way it was organised. So a great piece of work, in fairness, by the major possessions and projects and stations team of Great Western Railway. Well, the panel from the Institution of Railway Operators had to work really hard on this one because this was really tough. But in the end, they did conclude that the outstanding team effort goes to major possessions from Great Western Railway. Indeed. Well, we're now coming to our final award of the session, and it is a very special award. And this is a very special award we give each year for a very special effort. And I would like, first of all, to invite from the Institution of Railway Operators South East area, Glenn Merriman, to come and help us with this award. Glenn, by the way, does a great deal himself to help organise this event. So while we've just got a moment, Glenn, congratulations on your efforts. Great to see. Now, in this category, previous awards have gone to all sorts of different individuals. They went to an individual one year from the Northern Line on London Underground for taking very, very quick action when an engineering train nearly ran away. They went to Croydon, a colleague on Croydon Tramlink after the London riots. You will remember the London riots of some years ago now badly affected Croydon, the centre of Croydon, and passengers were taken to safety by a member of staff, Croydon Tramlink. And a Tyne and Wear Metro driver received this award one year for his efforts, having had a fatality in front of his train himself. He then embarked on a whole series of counselling and help for other colleagues in this area. And for those of you who've been through the train crew grades, and God forbid this may have happened to you, you know what it's like and the value that support from other colleagues can give in this category. So this category of award has gone and will continue to go to colleagues who've made a very, very special effort, personal effort. And I want to tell you about a colleague this year who has done just that. He lives near the railway, and his wife one day was looking out of the kitchen window and she saw on the line outside their house, which is a third rail electrified line, a young child on the railway. And she would have immediately known, being the wife of a railwayman, what the impact was of the child being on the railway anyway, but the extra risk of the child being on third railway. She immediately shouted at her husband. He immediately grabbed his yellow vest and he ran down to the station. He called the BTP on his mobile on the way to the station. He contacted the signaller when he got to the station, but he also saw a train standing in the platform, so he immediately went to take a precautionary measure to speak to the driver to tell him not to move the train regardless of aspect of the signals because of what he had seen. He then set off down 200 yards down the track and he scooped up the young child and he brought him back to safety. It is a great personal deed which almost certainly saved the life of a child and saved misery for years to come for the parents and friends and relatives of that child. So I would like you now to give great credit and give the special award this year to London Bridge driver with Go via Thameslink Railway, Adrian Voice. Well, in a moment I'm going to hand over to Glenn, and that completes our awards for this year. As they used to say on the Eurovision Song Contest, that completes the voting of the IRO jury. It's been another great year for success. Many colleagues are going home very happy. Let's congratulate everybody for their success this year. Thank you very much indeed. So Glenn, it's over to you.
Thank you, Dick. My name's Glenn Roman. I'm the chairman of the South East area of the Institution of Railway Operators. I just wanted to say a few words about the IRO and the role that we've played in making this event happen today. So the IRO, for those people who are less familiar with the Institution of Railway Operators, we exist to professionalise railway operations. And we do that in two main ways. There's the education programmes which we run, which are from certificate level up to degree level. They're open to anybody who works, whether it be in the industry or not, and they're something which focus on rewarding and recognising the experience that people have, but also focusing on business development and that aspect of the railway as well. The second way that the IRO supports professionalising operations is through the roles that the area councils have. And so the South East area is just one of the 7 different councils throughout the UK and Ireland, which run a series of vibrant and interesting events through senior leader talks, visits to depots, control centres, for people who might not get the chance to see those things, but also focus on networking and the sharing of best practice as well. We've got about coming up to 5,000 members. We're very close to 5,000, so if you join, anybody who isn't a member already, if you join in the next few weeks, you might be our 5,000th member, which for an organisation which has only been around for 15 years, I think is quite an achievement. So the South East area, the role that we played today, we sourced the information from mainly from Network Rail and the freight operators, and then analysed it in a way to make it fair to be able to compare like for like the different organisations. And we also, as Dick alluded to earlier, encouraged nominations to be submitted for the special awards, and we then made the judgments for those as well. And special thanks needs to go to a former council member who helped out with the awards today, which was Jonathan Leathead, who's been down here handing out the awards. And so I'd like to round of applause for Jonathan. So the Golden Whistles, I think it's the 6th year, and it's growing, each year it's growing. So this is the largest audience that we've had so far, which is a great achievement. And as Dick said earlier, we've We've got more people than the Golden Spanners, which is, for a more established awards, is a great achievement, I think. So the thing I think that we need to focus on, though, through being involved in the stats, is the fact that we can have operators that can grow their performance by 7.24%, and also the Victoria line as well, 24% increase in 1 year. That is a phenomenal achievement. And unfortunately, the press, modern railways, perhaps not, but the press seem to focus on the negative aspects of railway performance, whereas actually there's some great work going on, and that's why these awards are important, to recognise those people. So congratulations to all the winners today. I hope to see you next year, and thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Glenn. So it just devolves on me to make the final announcement, and I would just echo what Glenn has said, that there is some fantastic stuff going on out there on the railway, and I had Peter Hendy bending my ear, in his gravelly voice, all that positive stuff, you've got to get in there. And I mean, there's loads happening, and I think you should all be proud of yourselves, with the trains from Manchester to Scotland and Manchester Victoria, Crossrail, Thameslink, all this stuff is happening, and I think it's really cheering. So on that note, let me end by saying that we've had a fantastic collection for the Railway Children. We've raised over £1,900, so that's great. So finally, I'd just like to thank everybody involved today. I thank you to our sponsors, Traxys. Thank you to Chris Green for chairing the conference, Dick for his excellent job as MC. Everybody who spoke at the conference this morning, thank you very much. And thank you to the IRO judges and everybody else who's been involved in making today a success. And the next meeting of the Modern Railways Fourth Friday Club is Friday the 22nd of April, when we're meeting in the north again. It'll be a meeting at the National Railway Museum in York, where we're holding a Rail in the North conference. We've got Alex Hines and Leo, the new MD of TPE, and various other luminaries coming to speak. So that's Friday the 22nd of April in York. There are some flyers on the way out. And other than that, I just thank you all for coming, and see you next year. Thank you.